when someone dies,
A crow carries their soul to the land of the dead.
but sometimes something so bad happens that the soul cannot rest. Until you put the wrong things right. I'm gonna kill every single one of them.
So, a cult movie that came out back when I was younger, starring Brandon Lee.
We were all younger.
It wasn't. It's not that old.
You were dead.
What?
You weren't even born yet, I don't think, when it first came out. How old are you?
94?
Is it 94?
What are you talking?
That late?
You think it was before 1975?
I do. It was that campy. The original one. I remember seeing this when I felt I was so young when I saw this.
Brandon Lee, not Bruce Lee.
I said Brandon Lee.
Okay.
Yeah, but-
well, it's not that old.
That's how old you're saying it is. Anyway,
It felt like it.
The Crow.
The Crow.
Okay, so we all rewatched it.
We did.
I guess you didn't because you thought it was
No,
that old.
I watched it. In fact,
There's no way if you watched it.
I didn't
you're
check the
thinking,
date.
This is like 1975.
It felt like it. Come on, tell me that didn't feel like one of those movies.
I'll tell you what it did feel like. It felt like a movie that stood up. Like I was watching it. Okay, so I'll be honest. I never watched The Crow until
Most people didn't.
That's
why it's a cult movie.
we just watched
Because it wasn't popular when it came out.
And I'll tell you this though, I was watching it and I was like, okay, this is pretty cool. It actually, it's a decent movie.
Okay,
It stands up.
I was watching it and I was thinking, why is this so popular? Because
Well,
this is a very simple movie.
It is a simple movie, but it's one of the first comic book movies that was put to film. One of the first, not the first. And I can see where it has a cult following. And I didn't realize that people would watch it at Halloween because it takes place at Devil's Night and all that kind of stuff. Like, it's a good Halloween movie.
Well, the guys in it are the way over the top actors that
Sure.
I remember from all my movies.
But that
back
was
then.
That was 90s. That was the 90s.
Okay, so The Crow.
The Crow.
Right.
The Crow. The Crow, the legend has it that they can bring a soul back from the dead if something so heinous happens that the soul has to set things right.
Right.
And the original Crow started off right at resurrection time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which, okay.
I kind of wish they would have done that here.
That was kind of nice.
Okay, but in the original, you don't care about anything. He comes back and he says, okay, gotta go kill these people.
It's an action vengeance movie.
But this one, they gave you the backstory to see the romance, to see the love. And
they gave us backstory.
They gave us backstory, but you know what? Well, I think he knew her for a week and a half, and like that's what it seemed like.
So a girl is killed, and the boyfriend comes and takes vengeance. Now the first one was only a vengeance movie. It was basically Batman and Joker were meshed together, and he goes out and kills the bad guys
Yeah,
in Gotham.
Yes.
kind of cool.
Now in this one, you get a very slow burn
Oh my
romance
God.
between a couple of druggies.
Is it ever slow?
And you kind of grow to see how attached they are, and they're kind of pathetic, and you get it now. You get it that they're attached.
Yeah. How many times did they have to try to drive that home?
Except, I still don't know why he was in the place that she got into.
Where were they, by the way? Was that a halfway house? Was that a drug house?
I don't know.
Was that a
re-
loony bin?
It was a
rehab?
rehabilitation center. So yeah, he grew up. His entire family neglected him, and they were all druggies. And you just assumed that he had that kind of life.
Okay. Well, we also assumed that she did something weird in her life too. But I mean, like, it took an hour
and a half
for
before
anything happened.
Hour and a half before he kind of shows up in his crow persona.
Yes.
Hour and a half.
Now, whereas in the original, he comes back. For some reason, he puts paint on his face like the Joker, and he goes out and does his things. It has no explanation of why he does that, but in this one, you kind of feel it's more natural that he does it.
Okay, I understand they're explaining why they're doing this and everything. It doesn't necessarily make it better.
And it doesn't advance the story.
Well, no, it advanced the story a lot. Now, whether it was making you bored to get there, that's a different matter. Like, in the first one, they really leaned heavily into the rage music. In or so in the first one. In this one, it was more the melancholy sorrow.
They really
music.
decided to go artsy fartsy with this one.
Yeah.
As hard as they could.
And opera instead of like vengeance music.
Yeah. And then, like, after this very, very slow burn, we get this over-the-top, ultra-expressive, violent scenes all at once, where they thought, how can we make this death worse than the death we just did? And then make the next one even grosser.
No, but I think that's what the fans of this movie or comic are looking for.
But all the way through. Not just suddenly after all this la 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 stuff, and
Which there was a lot
and
about.
I don't want to do this, and I don't know what I'm doing, and
But that's
like
good.
but it seemed like there was too much contrast between the first hour and a half of this movie, and that's when he started going ultra violent.
I don't think so. I think the ultra gore is what sets this movie apart from any other superhero movie that you're gonna maybe watch. Or
It would have
comic book
been
movie.
better had they done ultra gore through the whole movie.
But they had to have the real life slow burn at the beginning.
No, they did not have to have that.
But they do have the opera, which I don't think was a good idea. But I think they tried to have the opera of blood, the big bloodbath at the end. It was operatic.
Yeah, and because opera, as we all know, hides the sound of multiple gunfire.
Yeah. Well, it's very loud.
It's very loud.
it's like
Very
God
loud.
opening his pop in the theater.
And then he walks out and he throws two heads into the audience
Yeah.
for some reason,
Yeah. Because everybody in the opera knows what's going on.
and had something to do with the evil guys.
There's so many people there. It's going to be hard to get out. He just wanted to clear the way.
Yeah, but he stood there for a long time. It seemed like hey, this would make a cool scene, right? And they put it in. Almost like that a little bit.
I couldn't get over how dorky he looked all the time. With he had a mullet, basically. He had really short hair, and it was sort of longer in the back. And in contrast to Brandon Lee with the long hair that sort of hung over his eyes and looked menacing, I couldn't get over that he just looked dorky.
No, I didn't know.
And when he was a kid, like the kid scene at the very beginning, he had the long hair. And then dorky
I think he looked the part.
shaved head mullet.
It didn't bother me. Maybe they're going for the punk rock more looking like stuff on him, but the story, it just did not. They changed the story slightly in this one, where now this other, compared to a straight vengeance story.
Well, the story was changed a lot.
Yeah, but I mean,
But now the villain is also supernatural in
Yeah.
nature. I don't know if the villain in the first one was.
No.
Maybe I missed a line.
He was just a crime lord.
Because he did look like a vampire kind of guy.
He did, but
But he was just a crime
he was
lord.
just a crime lord, and Ultra just weird guy. I really kind of was hoping that this movie would be The Crow done really well.
Yeah, well, I watched the first one, like I said, yesterday and today, and I was excited going into this. I was like, okay, well, if they can take today's sort of modern filmmaking strategies and put it to a new version, I was excited coming in.
Yeah.
And they didn't do that.
No, I wasn't. I didn't think the first Crow was all that special.
Well, I didn't think it was good. I thought it was. It's a very campy movie back then for us. Like
I thought it would be like a B Netflix movie. Like,
Well,
that's what it felt like to me.
the first one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was hoping. This one, with the way they can do modern film and the cinematography now, how this could have been a cool movie. With the same premise of a guy coming back from the dead to, for revenge. They just didn't do it right to me.
You know what? Like, it's a little bit weird because you both are on the same side, like real hard on the same side. And I thought this was a decent movie.
See? And Mom was right, because she said, I bet Paul liked it.
Well, the thing is, I wish the music choices would have been different. Like, get rid of the melancholy and go for something that pumps me up, vengeance-wise, because that would have been cool. Get some adrenaline in me instead of opera.
It was too slow.
Yes.
Yes.
It should have pumped us up more, and that's where it falters. But
Yeah.
I thought it did a good job overall.
And there should have been more build-up to the climax, right? There should have been more interesting scenes along the way. individual little deaths here and there. It just happened, and there it is. It's over.
Way too artsy.
Hiding in the woods. They're dancing in the club one night.
It felt a lot like the first half of the movie felt like the Titanic, and the second half felt like
Titanic was way better.
I understand how people could say it felt very, very slow, but I think overall it did an okay job.
Well, hey, when he's getting himself pumped up to go in for the final battle, and he's arming himself with all those weapons and everything. Oh yeah, he didn't do that. He put some makeup on his face
and grabbed a sword.
And looked in the mirror for a while.
Of all things, everybody's fighting with guns. Oh, lovely. Everyone's fighting with guns, and he grabs a sword. That's what he thought was his best choice of weapon.
It made it grosser scenes.
Just not smart.
So that works. All right, what are you gonna give it?
I'll give it a 6.9.
A 5.5.
I'm a 5. I was disappointed with the way they went with the movie. Just too long and too many boring stuff. Too much boring scenes.
It's like they got together and said, how can we make this movie boring? And then they came up with an idea, and then they said, no, more boring.
Yeah. Like I like the limbo world. I didn't mind that where they had it.
Purgatory
area, and but other than that, I think
a lot of the side characters too, or the acting was a little bit
bad,
subpar,
and we didn't care.
Yeah, like Shelley's mother, that was terrible acting. She spills the drink on the floor.
The main villain, I thought could have been done better. I think he's a good actor, but I think it could have been done better. And even the guy in
Purgatory,
the in-between world, that guy should have been a lot better. He reminded me of the father in the Little Mermaid movie.
yeah, who couldn't act. Yeah. And even the female villain. Why was she working with him? What happened to make her? Like, there was nothing to explain how he had control over her.
Yeah, for a movie that went so heavy into the backstory for an hour and a half, we really didn't learn anything about anybody.
We have no backstory about the bad guy.
All the people that worked for him were promised, like, a good life, like wealth and fancy life, until they die.
Except we didn't see that except for her.
Yeah, well.
Everybody else was like just his henchman with guns.
Listen, you said you thought the movie was slow. You don't want to go into all that stuff.
Well, it would have been better than the camping and swimming in the pool and then into the swamp area there.
Who doesn't like romance?
And the dancing by the fire in slow motion. Okay. 6.5?
6.9.
6.9. 5.5.
5.2.
He's dropping it down. I got an even 5. I will probably never ever watch this again.
No, in fact, if you want to watch a Crow movie, watch the 1994 Crow movie. Or 1975 Crow movie.
That's right. The campy one.
Well, it's shorter.
And better, actually.
Mm-hmm.